the Trevor Lawrence discourse over the last couple weeks has been immensely frustrating.
I'm done.
This idea that, and I think that when we talked about it earlier this week, I think it was framed in terms that are useful, where, okay, even if Trevor Lawrence is not this generational type quarterback prospect where he's ever going to be the best quarterback in the league, like, we should still be able to talk about a guy that was drafted first overall and remove ourselves from this black and white conversation where he's either a huge disappointment or he's the greatest thing that's ever lived.
It's a Netflix thumbs up, thumbs down, and then that's it.
It is very possible for Trevor Lawrence to just be an above average quarterback that puts his team in really good situations, that has a lot of useful tools, and Matt Ryan for the next 10 years, or is a slightly less version of Matt Ryan, whatever he ends up being. If Trevor Lawrence is the 12th best quarterback in the league for the next decade, if he's Ryan Tannehill, that's okay. Like, maybe that's a little bit disappointing, and I think he can probably be better than that. But if that ends up happening, like, we can live in that world. That is an eventuality that we should all be comfortable talking about and dissecting.
He's already there right now. That's what I'm trying to get across.
Yes,
He's already fine. Like, that's just, we're figuring out if he's could be MVP caliber or Pro Bowl caliber. We're figuring out what his ceiling is. That's what it is. He's 8th in EPA per dropback. He's tied with Geno Smith, everyone's hero this year. He had positive EPA at 74% of his dropbacks, which is the highest since a Mahomes game last year. Like, he has those games in him. It's just that we're figuring out what else can he do? Like, he can do this hard stuff. What else can he do? It's going to get better once he gets more talent around him. It just, I love, what's his face going there? Calvin Ridley going there. Like, that's going to be awesome. A legit outside receiver. We're also forgetting how good Calvin Ridley was before the whole suspension happened. He's a legit number one, which is awesome. So he's going to get some more juice, and he's just going to get better with that. I think his trajectory is great right now. And it's just one of those, we forget the NFL season is such, we get into the micro so much, even myself. Yes, it's a week-to-week business. It's a week-to-week game. But sometimes when you take a step back and look at the broad swaths of this and looking at 3 games, 4 games, a half season, and you start seeing the improvements some of these guys have. Another quarterback from that draft class we'll talk about, but also, where the stuff's going bad. And also you see who was actually, like, week 1, Jaguars and Commanders played, and it was just like, okay, the Commanders beat the Jaguars, and it's like, oh wow, that was actually an entertaining game. You don't know what these games are going to be. The Jaguars dominated the
Chargers in week 2.
Yeah,
and we had no idea what the Chargers were ultimately going to be.
Right, we don't know this until after the season, so that's why we all get caught up in this hurricane every week that develops after every Sunday, every week. And sometimes, you just got to stay dry and look at it all and go like, oh wow, that's pretty crazy right there. But I do think this is why I'm a fan of Trevor. He just does all that stuff. And I think he's going to be a very good quarterback. I really do. I'm just keeping my stock. I'm hoarding it all. I'll push everyone away. I'm hoarding all stock that I can of Trevor Lawrence because he's a good player. Just want to see how good he can be.
I also just think we really struggle to talk about what a pretty good quarterback who plays for a long time, the way that we have discourse about that person. Like Matthew Stafford, Matt Ryan.
Right.
It's hard to talk about those guys because it always has to be all or nothing. And for the most part, that's just never how it's going to be. There's always going to be those guys who land somewhere in the middle where, like, okay, we can do enough with this guy if we do this and this and this right. And again, maybe Trevor Lawrence can be more than that. We're a year and a half into his career where the first season is worth just completely writing off. But I still think, even if he ultimately becomes that, we have to be better about talking what those sorts of guys are. And I'm almost talking to myself as much as anything there, because I struggle to talk about those guys sometimes, but I think Trevor Lawrence might be one of them. So we better get used to it right now.